receive a Brian McCartney Service Award. These people have dedicated their time to bettering both the community and Centennial through their tireless work. They are prime examples of Bulldog excellence, and we are happy they are here today. Please help me in congratulating this year's inductees. Now, let's welcome our very own JROTC Color Guard with the representation of the colors under the direction of Mr. Major Freebird. Also, please welcome our very own fully conformed under the direction of Ms. Lee Christmas.
Color guard. Attention. Carry. Color. Forward. March. Stage. March. Ready, go. See. Colors. Ready, face. Present, arms.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Ready, face. Forward, march. Forward, march.
Now, help me bring out our number one Bulldog and principal, Mr. Dave Crow.
Good morning. Thank you. Welcome, Bulldogs, old and new, to the 2019 Centennial Foundation Hall of Fame Assembly. I really look forward to this assembly every year because it uniquely blends former Bulldogs who blazed the trail of excellence here at Centennial with our next generation of Bulldogs who will be forging their own path to add to this great history and tradition of this school. We are proud to continue this tradition of recognizing Bulldog excellence, and we thank all of our guests who are with us today to help celebrate our Hall of Fame inductees. Before we get to the festivities, I would like to recognize the people who make this possible, our Hall of Fame committee. So committee members, please stand and be recognized as your name is called. Mr. Bonifacio Castellon, Mrs. Pat Fechterly-Farrell, Ms. Jo Hansen, Mrs. Laura Kelly, Mrs. Kathleen Kennedy, Dr. Jennifer Cottonsteady, Mr. Andrew Lee, student rep, Ms. Maya Mays Johnson, student rep, Mrs. Marge Mastrini, Mrs. Ellen Reynolds, Mrs. Rita Romero, and Mr. Mike Sexton. Thank you all for your hard work, all in the name of Centennial High School. Please give them a round of applause. And I would also like to, a special thank you to Pam Hof, who's the principal secretary here, for her dedicated work in help get all this prepared and ready for the assembly and the banquet, and to Ms. Maya and her students for assisting in putting on this assembly that you're really going to enjoy. A reminder to students that this is an interactive assembly, and for you to participate in this live fun, you need to text Centennial High 121 to 37607, or better yet, just look at that slide. A lot easier. Also at this time, I'd like to take a moment to recognize those amazing Bulldogs who have already been inducted into the Centennial Hall of Fame. So current members of the Centennial Hall of Fame, please stand up and be recognized if you're here. I know many of you are. Welcome back, and thank you for your many contributions to our school and to our community. And now it is my distinct privilege to introduce to you this year's members of the Hall of Fame, Centennial's Foundation Hall of Fame. The inductees are, would you please come up to your chairs when I call your name? First, we have Lieutenant Colonel Terrance Douglas, class of 1975. Next, we have Mr. Mike Sexton, class of 1974. Next, we have Dr. John Yaeger, class of 1970. And finally, our Brian McCartney Service to Centennial Hall of Fame inductee, Mrs. Karen Pike. And now, let's get on with the fun. So with our student interviewers, I'm going to turn it over to them. Have a great assembly. Thank you for being here.
Hi students, I'm Andrew Lee, and I'm honored to be helping introduce Mr. Terrance Douglas into Centennial's Hall of Fame. Lieutenant Colonel Terrance Douglas is a Bulldog who has committed his life to the service of our country. Mr. Douglas was recognized with a Bronze Star and an Army Commendation Medal during Operation Desert Storm. He also received the Meritorious Service Medal awarded for outstanding service and achievement to the U.S. Armed Forces. He served as a key advisor to the Royal Saudi Air Defense Forces and as Chief of Training and Exercises. He honed these talents at Centennial by earning letters in basketball and track and taking part in the Pride City Marching Band. He served Centennial even further by volunteering as a coach before commencing his military career. Lieutenant Colonel Terrance Douglas is a Bulldog very worthy of this Hall of Fame recognition, and students, would you please help me in welcoming Mr. Terrance Douglas. So before we begin, as Mr. Craddock mentioned, we have our little interactive part of the interview. So we'll have some questions up on the slideshow that you guys will be able to text your answers into, and we'll get to see how many of you guys are wrong. So, first, which picture is Terrance Douglas' 1975 year-old photo?
That is a rough one. Come on.
All right, for the 20% of you that put D, you guys are pretty close. So, good job to those of you who picked C. So, Mr. Terrance Douglas. Alright, so let's get on with the actual interview. So obviously you had a very distinguished and accomplished military career, what with your Bronze Star, your Army Commendation Medal. What made you want to join the military in the first place?
Well, that goes way back. It's kind of been a tradition in our family. My grandfather was in the service, and my father was in the service, and he made it to the rank of chief of the Air Force. So he was Chief Master Sergeant in the Air Force. He started out in the Army, with the Army Air Corps, left and became the Air Force. He switched over branches to the Air Force. So I always looked at that. I always admired what he was able to do, and so that was something that just kept pushing me to go ahead and join the military.
How do you feel your time at Centennial helped you for your later life in the military and even on today?
Well, hey, Centennial, back in the day, I won't say how far back, but it was back in the day, there was a lot of camaraderie between all the students, especially the 2 year groups, 74 and 75 were extremely close. We used to compete against each other in everything. I mean, you did tiddlywinks, you could compete. So that helped to push you, and that kind of started to form your personality, and wanted to push you into being the best you could be, especially when you had a bunch of good buddies that, we competed against everything, and we always wanted to be better than the other. And so as we went forward, we kept pushing that way, and we stayed in touch. That's one thing that I really like to push here, is that you go ahead and maintain those friendships and those relationships that you build here in high school, because they're going to mean a lot to you when you get to be around our age. And then you still got them sitting here. It's a group of guys that we all kind of grew up together, especially that Jerry Cisneros kid. We've known each other for over 5 decades, so it's been a while.
So, touching on that camaraderie and those friendships you made, do you have any fun memories from your time at Centennial, maybe with your friends, or maybe as a coach, or even during your time as a military, or in the military?
Fond memories is just, being here. One of the biggest fond memories that always comes back to me is band. I played the baritone. You guys know what that is? And then the marching band, because I didn't like carrying that big old instrument, my buddy over there, Blake Martin, he kind of taught me, because he played the trombone. He taught me how to slide, because it's the same notes, in the bass clef. So he taught me to slide, learned that, got out there, and then when we marched in the Pride City Marching Band, I was one of the guys up in the front rank. And that was pretty cool, being in the front rank of the Pride City Marching Band, let me tell you. Because that marching band was known throughout the state and a lot throughout the country for what we did there. But I love being here at Centennial. To tell you guys the truth, though, I thought I was going to Pueblo East. I'm going to tell you the truth. Because I lived on that side of town. I grew up on the east side. I grew up, I went to Bradford Middle School, went to Risley for a while, and then all of a sudden we moved, and I said, what are we doing? And ended up at Freed. Fortunately, praise God, Jerry Cisneros he had moved here. He used to move everywhere, but he was over there, and he was at Freed. And I was walking down the hall, and I was like, I don't know nobody here. I have no idea. And next thing I know, I look in this room, and I see this guy. He sees me at the same time. He runs out the room, comes and grabs me, and so we've known each other. That's how it's always been. So it's been great.
I think you made the right choice coming to Centennial, right, Bulldogs?
I think you're correct. I'm with you, except that my wife and my sister are both Central Wildcats. And they say,
Okay, moving on from that. So next thing that I'd like to ask you is, what do you think your greatest accomplishment is during your lifetime, maybe in the military or just in general?
I think my greatest accomplishment really is my kids, to tell you the truth. I've seen a lot of stuff, I've done things, I've accomplished a great amount of things in the military, but to me it's my kids. Seeing them grow up and became very, very good people. Very, God-fearing people, both of them. My son here has got his own business, so he does things with that. My daughter's a manager for Kroger, so that's it. That there, and then also marrying Karen, my wife. Yeah. Without her, we wouldn't have
Right, and lastly, for future graduates in Centennial, what advice would you give them?
And something my father would say, it was kind of like a motto to him. It was one of those things where he kind of say, believe nothing you hear and only half of what you see. It sounds kind of strange, and I thought it was a little strange too at the time. I said, what are you talking about? But when you get out there, you start to realize that people say a lot of things that they don't have any idea what they're talking about. So be careful about what you hear, and just kind of look at things halfway of what you see. General Colin Powell stated that when you're out there, only believe half of what you see. And that's from him, and I worked for him in the service for a little bit when he was the Joint Chief. So he was a great man. He was able to give us a lot of good leadership in the military. And you guys, when you get out there, as I stated earlier, man, your friendships, your relationships are going to mean a lot, because you're going to need to fall back on that time. So just be ready for that. And keep getting your education. And it doesn't mean that you have to go off to college either. They got trade schools out there too. So if you have that type of aptitude, and that's what you need to go for. Of course, I'm always push the military, because it helps you grow up a little bit, okay? And we always need good people in the military to help defend this country and the freedoms that we all are according, okay?
Great advice for our students today. So please help me once again in congratulating Mr. Terrance. Next up is Maya Mays Johnson, who will be introducing Mr. Mike Sexton.
Hi, my name is Maya Mays Johnson, and I have the honor of helping induct Mr. Mike Sexton into the Centennial Hall of Fame. Mr. Sexton's name is familiar to many in Pueblo and to many sports enthusiasts throughout the state and beyond. This Centennial graduate has made his mark in coaching from La Junta, East Centennial, and even at the junior college level. He was the Rocky Mountain Region's National Football League punt, pass, and kick program coordinator, and his team of volunteers hosted the National PPK competition in Denver in 2014. Awards for these efforts include the Commissioner's Award in 2013 and the CARA Legacy Award for dedicated service in 2017. Mr. Sexton was the assistant boys basketball coach from 1999 to 2003, and in 2004 he became the head boys basketball coach until 2007, and was the SCL league runner-up in 2004. His dedication to Centennial continues today in his involvement with the Centennial Foundation. Please help me in welcoming Mr. Mike Sexton. All right, so before we begin, I know we said we wouldn't be mean to you, but we're also going to do another yearbook photo thing. So students, please take out your phones and vote for which picture you think is Mr. Sexton in Induction 74. See? Yeah? So 12% for, yeah, for C. Yes, the correct answer is D. All right, so congrats once again on this tremendous achievement. So, how does it feel to be inducted into the Hall of Fame?
Gosh, it's unreal. I'm it didn't hit me until I just sat down just now. I mean, it's so awesome coming back to my old school and seeing a lot of my old friends and seeing all the young faces here. It really warms your heart and really makes you feel good. I'm really proud to be a Bulldog right now.
All right. So you've left quite a legacy as a coach. So what was one of your favorite memories coaching?
Oh gosh, I have to go back to as a player first. When I played here, you know, Terrance here was a teammate. Lawrence LT sitting in the front row was a teammate. Coming out here and playing the first game in the school here, first gym, we beat a ranked team from Denver. The gym was full. It was exciting. We had a great time, right? But it ended up doing that all season, and again, the pride was there. And then coming back as a head coach in 2004, stepping on that floor again and seeing the crowd and just reliving some of those old memories, that has to be probably my best memory, is coming back to Centennial and being the head coach.
All right, so touching on that again, you graduated in 1974, so what is one of your favorite high school memories?
I was a basketball junkie, so I didn't spend a lot of time in school. I was out either in the gym or out on the playground, you know, or down at the slabs. I didn't spend a lot of time. We ran the halls, we played basketball all the time, but I think one of my best memories was probably being around my friends, my teammates, other classmates, and just enjoying, being around them and going to classes. And again, playing basketball was my life at that time, and everything I did relate back to team sports and basketball, and that helped me get to where I was today.
All right, so obviously Centennial means a lot to you. You do a ton of volunteer work for the Centennial Foundation. So what does volunteering mean to you for continuing with excellence at Centennial?
Volunteers are really important. From the foundation to the Hall of Fame committee, all the other subcommittees from the foundation, and I know a lot of the students spend a lot of their time volunteering. I know you have to do some volunteer hours to graduate. There's a lot of opportunities in the whole community to do volunteer work, from helping with care and share to walking dogs, to doing all kinds of different things. But being a volunteer in your community and in your school, it's giving back. It's giving back to your community, your neighborhood, your teammates, your classmates, and it's just something that as a person, with that respect of your neighbor, being a volunteer, it just goes deeper than just showing up and getting a paycheck if you're at work.
All right, and finally, if you could impart any wisdom onto Centennial students today, what would it be?
And I was thinking about that. And I have a lot. I mean, as a head coach, you've got a lot of things that you want to tell students and players, and sometimes they get through, sometimes they don't. But what I would want to tell you here today, and I wish I would follow my own advice. When I was in school, I wish I would have been more involved in other activities other than just basketball. I probably should have done other programs, other extracurricular activities, dances, the events at the school. I didn't do that, and I regret that right now. So my suggestion and my recommendation, word of wisdom from an old Bulldog: get involved. Not just in the activities that you're involved in now. Try to find something else. You might like it, you might not, but you won't know until you try.
All right. Thank you so much, and congrats again on this tremendous achievement. Students, please help me in congratulating Mr. Mike Sexton. Next, we will have Jolie Doe, who is introducing Dr. John Yaeger.
Hi, I'm Jolie Doe, and it's my honor to introduce to you Dr. John Yaeger. Dr. John Yaeger has had a positive impact on countless numbers both before and after his graduation from Centennial. After serving as the 1974 class president at the United States Naval Academy, he earned 2 master's degrees and a doctorate of education from George Washington University. Dr. Yaeger made a profound impact on national security in the education of U.S. military officers and civilian officials. He was appointed as Dean of Faculty and Academic Programs at the ICAF Industrial College of the Armed Forces, and became the primary consultant and advisor to the ICAF Commandant. At Centennial, Captain Yaeger was student body president his senior year. He was also a member of the Honor Society and graduated with a silver cord. He attended Boys State and was named to the Mr. C Corps. Dr. Yaeger's roots in service speak to the humble nature of this worthy Bulldog alum. Please join me in welcoming Dr. John Yaeger. Okay, so again, please turn your attention to the screen for our get to know you short. So which picture?
There were times it was very close to D. Pop quiz, I remember.
Okay, congrats to the 40% of you who got it right. It was C. No, I'm just kidding. It was B. Okay. So we have some interview questions for you. What was your most memorable experience at the Naval Academy and why?
At the Naval Academy?
Yeah.
Oh, gosh. I would have to say it was beating Army. In many sports. But, just as one of my fondest memories at Centennial was beating Central. Anything, it didn't matter what it was graduating. It was done and move on to
Yeah,
the
well,
service.
that's a good goal we should all have. What was your favorite class at Centennial?
Oh, my favorite class at Centennial was probably my math classes, all of them. I just enjoyed it and seemed to do well in math. So.
We do have a really good math department. Tell us a time that a Centennial teacher made a great impact on you.
Okay, there were probably a couple. Back in that time frame, it was the Vietnam War. The country was very split on whether or not we should even be involved. And I was struggling with whether or not I wanted to go. I didn't want to go to a service academy, but it really wasn't popular at that time frame. But there were 2 or 3 teachers, Coach Frakes, Mr. Nuanas, and Mr. Collier, who had all served in the military, and really encouraged me to do that and go for it. And I don't regret the second of that decision at all. But it was really with their support.
All right, well, it seems like a good choice. What was your favorite extracurricular activity at Centennial and why?
It was wrestling, and from what we heard up here, it continues. It was the camaraderie of the team. It was a real challenge. Coach Frakes really worked us. It really built discipline within me and the teammates. And the other thing that he taught was to respect each other. And, whether you were the state champion or the manager on the team, respect your opponent as well. That was a big part of that.
And what advice would you give to current high school graduates?
Okay, I thought that was tremendous advice you've had already, and I second all of that. One of the things that impacted me here a great deal was that the teachers and administration promoted a culture of respect from students from very diverse backgrounds, ideas, and perspectives. And taking that with you, hopefully they still have that here today, but that's a great culture to embrace and to live your life.
Well, I hope you all were listening and that you learned something. So thanks again, and let's get another round of applause for Dr. Yaeger.
Before I begin, I must say thank you to all the participants here today. We appreciate your advice and what you have to say. Now, I have the absolute pleasure of introducing Karen Pike. Known to many for her love of students, Karen Pike dedicated her life to teaching and serving students throughout Colorado. Her teaching career started in 1984, serving at-risk students. By 1993, she had arrived at Centennial and quickly led the business department, serving as chairperson of career and technology education for 13 years, and FBLA advisor for 22 years. At Centennial, she served as a business teacher, department chair, and FBLA advisor. She is recognized as one of Pueblo School District 60's finest teachers. Her student successes in FBLA, local, state, and national competition are many. The most compelling aspects of Mrs. Pike's interactions with students is that she imparts values that last a lifetime. With the highest of students and positive examples, Mrs. Pike continuously encouraged students to become involved in FBLA, DECA, and Centennial School Store. After retiring in 2006, Karen and her husband moved to Monument, Colorado. Even today, she serves as a substitute teacher. Everyone, Miss Karen Pike.
Now, I feel that we should start off with a more basic question, but I feel it's an important one. What was your favorite part of teaching students?
Well, I believe my favorite part of teaching students, first of all, was in the classroom every day. I think a really good teacher can make a difference, a positive difference in a student every day. My prayer every day on the way to school was, please, may I make a difference in at least the lives of one student. And I think I did that on a regular basis.
Amazing. So, what was one of the funniest interactions you've had with a student?
Oh my God, my career was an adventure. My career with children is an adventure. 34 years in the classroom. I started out at East High School. I moved on to Centennial. Mr. Frank Latino hired me over the phone as the department chair here. My most exciting adventure with kids was our FBLA competitions. We take 120 students to Vail every year for 3 days and maybe 5 chaperones. And chaperoning 100, 110, 120 students was such a challenge. At about the middle of my career, we finally had it figured out. Keeping kids in their room at 1 or 2 or 3 in the morning, we took painter's tape, the white painter's tape. We would tape their doors shut. So we had a great time traveling with students, not only our FBLA students, but our DECA students, National Honor Society students. We had a great time with our students.
Awesome. Obviously, we all know you've taught FBLA for many years and to great success. You've had many success stories with students. And may I ask you, what's one of the most interesting and funny ideas that one of your students had that succeeded in competition?
I had a student one year who wanted to participate in computer applications. I encouraged him to go for Mr. FBLA. He decided to do that at my request. And he did very well at the state level. He took first in the state for Mr. FBLA. This is first in the state. We went on to the national competition, and as he approached the stage, he said, Miss Pike, remember, I didn't want to do this. I said, you're gonna do fine, Chris, you're gonna do fine. We believe in you. And as he started up the stage, he fell on the stage. He was so embarrassed, but he pulled himself together and he ended that competition with second in the nation as Mr. FBLA. Oh, may I also say, I have had the honor to coach over my career 63 state FBLA champions and 5 national champions. So I'm very
get on more of a serious note. What was one of the most touching student stories that you had or that you helped?
I had a really touching story one morning. I came to school about 7 o'clock in the morning. Great big kid came into my room. Great big boy. I could tell that he had been crying. And I said to him, I said, Bobby, what's wrong? And he says, Mrs. Pike, I don't want to talk about it. I said, what do you mean? It's early, we can talk about it. No, I don't want to talk about it. If I could just get up and go to the restroom. When he got up and turned away from me, he had spit on his back, and a parent had spit on him. And I said to him, I am so sorry, Bobby, go into the restroom, clean yourself up, come back to the classroom, we have plenty of time. And when he came back to the classroom, I had peppermint tea waiting for him.
It's incredibly sweet.
Yeah, I have, over 34 years, gone from personally coaching kids on a personal level to a very professional level. I'm really proud of that.
I think that deserves a round of applause. Was there any times that it was difficult for you to teach? Did you come across any difficulties that made you think, is this truly the right occupation for myself?
I never had those feelings. I loved my career. It was an adventure. It was such a joy every day to go to school and to work with kids. I never regretted ever making the decision that I made to be a classroom teacher.
Correct. And one last question for you. For yourself, to any of the seniors out there now, what sort of advice do you have for them moving forward into the world, and even to the freshmen? What advice do you have for them going into high school and trying to make the most of their high school careers?
Well, I would say just remember as you're getting ready to make your own way, to go out into the world, to walk your own path and to find your career, you absolutely, the only way that you can do really, really, really great work at what you do, you absolutely have to love what you do.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yes.
Thank you to all our award recipients.
All right, now we would like a few more words from Mike Sexton. Thank you, Mike.
Thank you very much. Can you give a hand to these interviewees? I want to introduce myself, not as a Hall of Famer, but as the president of the Centennial Foundation. I have the privilege of working with a group of awesome individuals and volunteers for the Centennial Foundation. And, they're here to help promote the ongoing legacy of Centennial High School. And, I can't say enough. I mean, I'm already emotional up here, being in this situation, but coming up here and talking about the foundation. They're here for the students of Centennial High School, and they will continue to be here for the students. So, if there's anything you need from the foundation, please do not hesitate to ask us. Okay, thank you very much.
About one more round of applause for these amazing volunteers. Congratulations to our new Hall of Fame inductees, and thank you to everyone who came here today to help support them. This tradition is truly another example of what makes Centennial High School great. Remember, once a Bulldog, always a Bulldog. We'll see most of you tonight at the banquet. Thank you to everybody, and enjoy it. Thanks for being here.